Hey everyone, I'm Jacqueline.
And Adam.
For Pixie Dust PhD. While we were out at the Disneyland Resort, we stayed at 3 different hotels. We did our arrival night at an offsite, just a couple nights at the Grand Californian, and then most of our stay was at the Disneyland Hotel. In this video, we're just going to have a discussion about each of those, pros, cons, maybe some favorites at the end. Thanks so much for being here. We really appreciate your support. If you find this funny, informational, entertaining, please remember to hit the like button. You can also subscribe to the channel and then ring the bell icon to receive a notification whenever we upload new videos. We did fly out from the East Coast to the West Coast, so that first day in our brain is, kind of burnt. We certainly didn't have park tickets. We had a very lovely, fancy dinner that night, but that was it. And so with that considered, we just didn't really want to pay the rates to stay on property at Disney. For those of you who are used to Disney World, out at Disneyland, there's only 3 on-property hotels, and they're all considered like deluxe level, so they're all very expensive. So instead, we stayed off-site for one night at the Hilton Home2 Suites. This is on Manchester Avenue. It's kind of the opposite way across the Esplanade. So if you're coming out of the parks, you would normally go through downtown Disney to go to the Disney resorts. If you go the other way, you get to a big street, you cross that street, and there's just like a ton of hotels around. Specifically, we had a free reward night from Hilton, from our credit card, essentially, that we just needed to burn. We would often use it somewhere with like a higher points rate, like New York, but timing just wasn't working out. The night was expiring, so we figured we may as well just use it in Anaheim. Often the Hilton with the convention center is actually going to be the most expensive, but when we were looking, this Home2 Suites was the most expensive, so we were like, may as well get the highest worth out of the free night.
Yeah, and it also is, importantly, walking distance to everything you need, and the breakfast was a sleeper hit for me.
Yeah, so it's a Home2 Suites, which is like a long stay hotel chain for the most part. So breakfast is included in your rate. I will say the rate is a little higher than like the Hilton Garden Inn that's attached pretty much every time I've looked, at least. I think partially because breakfast is included. The room was also pretty big and spacious. I mean, again, you're talking about a long stay hotel, so I think they want you to feel a little more comfortable. There's kind of more in-room amenities in terms of like kitchenette, all that kind of stuff. The breakfast that was provided, I figured it would be oatmeal, cereal, milk, yogurt, bad fruit. But there was like chicken patties, there was eggs, there was some protein. It really was kind of like, and you can have this instead of going to McDonald's. So yeah, I think it would depend on the cash rate. I'm guessing it would be a little pricey compared to some of the other hotels in the area. But depending on how big your party is, if you really want those in-room amenities or if you want that breakfast included, it's somewhere I would stay again. Because we're only 2 of us and we typically are not making breakfast in the hotel room. We're like, frankly, we don't often eat breakfast. So the included breakfast was nice and we did go and take advantage, but it's not a big factor for us. So I don't imagine I would go out of my way to stay there again. But yeah, the location's good. Staff's nice. The hotel is pretty new, or I think it was like newly redone kind of in COVID time. So really no complaints.
Also at the hotel, there was a nice hotel bar, a pool, a hot tub, and it was all looked like it was well manicured, well taken care of. So I think it's a great spot for like families who don't necessarily want to pay the deluxe room rates on Disney property, and still very walkable, again, even for some of the smallest children.
Yeah, I would say it's maybe a 15-minute walk. I mean, it took us about 10.
Yes.
We walk pretty fast though. So I think for most people, it's like 15-ish minutes. I mean, it's very easy to leave your hotel and walk to the Disney parks, get to downtown Disney, get to the other on-site hotels if you want to go have a meal there or anything. So yeah, great location. Again, I think there's a lot of hotels in that area, right in that same spot in terms of 10 to 15-minute walk. So if you want to save some money, or if you have like brand loyalty or points or free nights or anything, kind of like we did, it's a great option for sure. After that single night at the Home2 Suites, we then moved over to the Grand Californian. So we are Disney Vacation Club members and we do own at the Disneyland Hotel. So we had booked a studio at the Disneyland Hotel 11 months out with our homeowner priority. But I also went on the wait list for the Grand Californian and I never thought it would come through, but magically did. So we had 2 nights slotted at the villas at Grand Californian in a deluxe studio. So that was a park day for us. We went to the park. They texted us, I don't know, like 1 o'clock or something that our room was ready. We popped over, checked in, and there was some construction going on in the hotel at the time. So they did warn us at check-in. They were like, oh, like your balcony will be not usable. And I was like, okay. So we went to check it out. And I don't know, I had kind of imagined there would just be like a structure on it that you could see through, but like light would still be let in. Maybe we could crack it open and get some fresh air. There's like a thick plastic sheet over our door out to our balcony, and the room was just really dark. So we ended up asking the front desk if there was just like another studio or another room, and they were out of like the villas, the studios, but they did put us on the hotel side. But so we were in that deluxe studio for like, I don't know, a half hour total of time. They kind of told us to go there and like wait while they sorted things out. So
Yes.
we just sat, and tried not to mess anything up. We didn't touch the bed or anything. We sat on the chair and tried not to mess anything up. So I don't think we can say really like how that room feels because we weren't in there for too long. But from like the walkthrough and having compared it to other studios we've stayed in, I think it's a very comparable, like nice, comfortable looking room.
Yeah, I think they definitely missold us a little bit on the construction piece. So just got to be careful if you're staying at any hotel that's going through construction. Just kind of the moral of that story. But they were very accommodating to find something that was acceptable to us. And it seemed like a nice enough room, all things considered, in normal circumstances.
Yeah, and I think much like many studios, my comment normally is like, great for 2 of us. I wouldn't put 4 adults in there.
Oh, no.
And I feel that way about that room. Like, it wasn't tiny by any means, but it's like, compared to the actual hotel room we got, it felt smaller. I don't know if the square footage is actually smaller.
Maybe the light.
Maybe the light, yeah. It was so dark, so I do think it felt smaller because it was just like, and this is midday. It was so dark in there. And, we turn on all the lights, but most of the lights are pretty dim and no daylight.
Sunny Southern California, but you're in a cave.
It was kind of depressing. And it was one of those things where before we went to the hotel desk to ask if there was another room we could possibly stay in, I had made peace with myself. I was like, it is what it is. If that's like the only room, that's fine. But I was really hopeful they would be able to accommodate us just because I knew that every time I walked into that room, I would just go, because it's just so dark. But it worked out. So yeah, the studio side looks really nice and maybe we'll get a chance to actually stay in that room someday. But it was nice to at least see it. And then they moved us to the hotel side. So we were in the main building of the Grand Californian, like with the lobby. I think the room we got was probably a pool view. It did still have like a balcony, which I was a little worried about when they were like, we can put you hotel side. I was like, am I gonna be able to open a window or anything? Because that's a big selling point of DVC in my opinion, is being able to just like hang out on your balcony. But we did get one. I have no clue if all the rooms at the Grand Californian Hotel like have that or not. But yeah, so that was also a nice room. I think it was pretty recently redone. There was really cute Chippendale artwork kind of throughout. It felt a lot lighter, possibly because there was not a huge plastic sheet over our window/door. Possibly, I think also the paint color just seemed lighter.
Yeah, I think it was just recently remodeled. It had natural light, and I think it was a very nice room.
Yeah, the bedding I thought was very plush, which to me signals it might have gotten replaced recently, right? I do think the rooms were refurbished recently, but that was one of the nicer beds I feel like I've slept on Disney property, like nicer than the Walt Disney World ones. Yeah, and obviously like being in the main building of the Grand Californian is a really cool perk. The villas are off to the side, I'm pretty sure. Not that it's huge, it's not a big inconvenience. Yeah, the room itself is really nice. That is a room where, I mean, you still only have one bathroom is the thing, but that is a room where I would feel more comfortable putting 4 adults in, or 2 adults and 2 children, something like that. It was like oversized just for the 2 of us. And the Grand Californian as a whole is just a super nice property. It's got a very distinct, that craftsman style that, I mean, maybe not everybody's gonna love, but I thought that it was beautiful. And there are some good like food and drink options right at your hotel, although all of them are expensive.
Yeah, the amenities there are pretty nice. It's clearly the jewel of the property, the convention center piece of it all, and just a lot going on there. And right in this location is second to none because it's right in the middle of everything with your own special entrance into the park, which was really cool and we definitely took advantage of. Yeah,
so you can go to California Adventure Park, DCA, through your own entrance. While we were there, actually, the Grand Cal entrance was closed, but they like backrouted us to the Pixar Place Hotel entrance. So I think the normal entrance is probably even way more convenient than what we did. But even with having to kind of like walk the path to the Pixar Place entrance, like that was awesome. And then if you're going to Disneyland Park, you would exit out a different way from the hotel and you're like right in downtown Disney.
Yeah, with your own security line and everything.
Yeah, so having your own security is awesome. Like no one is using that except hotel guests. And then, I mean, by saying right in downtown Disney, you're like halfway through it. You're really quite close to the park entrance. So the location, it can't be beat. I mean, I think I hear people say sometimes maybe like the very closest hotel off of, I think it's Harbor Boulevard, so the other way through the Esplanade, is probably equidistant. And maybe that's about true, but I don't know what that hotel is. It's probably a Marriott. It's probably more on the expensive side as opposed to like saving money staying, 2 blocks further in a Hilton or something. So yeah, Disneyland's a funny thing where, at Disney World, what they're really selling you with their resorts is location and there is no competition. There's like nothing else to consider. At Disneyland, you can consider staying off-site and possibly being closer. But yeah, the location for the Grand Californian, I think for me is like the number one selling point. I think that's why I would consider maybe, I mean, I wouldn't pay the rack rate, but if I would, that's the thing where I'm like, oh yeah, that would be really nice. So we were there for 2 nights, enjoyed our time, and then we moved over to the Disneyland Hotel. Specifically, we had a 2-bedroom lock-off at the Villas at Disneyland Hotel, so in the DVC tower. That's pretty new. And again, it was a lock-off, so we had a studio, adjoining door into a 1-bedroom.
And this was a very, very new building. So it's kind of hard to compare to a Legacy Hilton and then a hotel going into renovation, but it was definitely a cool stay.
Yeah, the room was new and shiny, like Adam was saying. Everything was comfortable. This is our first time that we ever stayed in like a 1-bedroom, or I guess in this case it was a 2-bedroom because of the lock-off, but something bigger than a studio for DVC. Bye! And the 1-bedroom portion had a king bed, which was super fun, so that was new for us. And again, like really comfortable, though I will say I just do think that for whatever reason the Grand Cal felt a little more plush. The bathroom in those 1-bedrooms, or the 2-bed lock-off, or I assume probably the 2-bed dedicated at the Villas at Disneyland Hotel, is stunning. Like, you have a separate toilet, separate shower, huge tub, beautiful mosaic. The mirrors are beautiful. Like, part of this is the shiny new factor. Like, nothing looks run down, everything looks pristine. But also that is like a resort luxury bathroom, which I normally do not feel like Disney hotels kind of meet that luxury brand level of perfect.
Yeah. It was like staying in an apartment, like a brand new luxury apartment. It was really cool.
Yeah, and definitely a lot of Disney touches throughout. I know sometimes people complain that the deluxe resorts don't feel Disney enough. There was a lot of Disney. We had a Tiana themed room.
It was so Tiana.
It was very Tiana, but I think it's really cute. I didn't mind.
Yeah, there were like the mosaics in the bathroom and then like the light ups in the mirror to give you the Tiana crown. Like,
the rugs were Tiana. There was a huge Tiana portrait. It was beautiful.
Yeah, it was stunning.
Yeah, and so there were 7 of us. We had 4 adults and 3 kids, and I think that having the 2-bedroom space worked out pretty well. There's always, you never know how it's gonna go. You've got so many people in one space, but there's 3 full bathrooms, plenty of room to sprawl out, definitely enough beds. Everything was comfortable, functional. So yeah, I'm very happy about that. And the Disneyland Hotel, overall, a very different theme and feel and vibe than Grand Cal, so they're hard to compare. Disneyland Hotel is way more like mid-century modern. It's got those pops of color, feels more Mary Blair, a little more geometric. And then, but weirdly, like more tropical too, because they have Trader Sam's and Tangaroa Terrace in the center.
It definitely leans into Southern California, whereas the Grand Californian is more like
Northern California.
Northern California.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I think that is a nice through line through kind of how those hotels, I think, are themed, as well as kind of what all the amenities are kind of built out for.
Yeah. For me personally, for like amenities factor, and again, this is so subjective, but I think Disneyland Hotel takes it. I find the feature pool there just to be stunning, and it really is like a big feature of the resort because everything is kind of around it, like all the buildings lead into that area. I also prefer the kind of food and drink options at Disneyland Hotel. Not that the ones at Grand Californian are bad, but Disneyland Hotel is just like very up my alley in terms of the Trader Sam's outdoor bar is phenomenal.
Yeah, we love a good outdoor bar. Yeah, the pool bar is the Craftsman Grill at Grand Californian is like a good pool bar.
It's good. It's definitely good.
But the options are, you have multiple options of a similar fashion at the Disneyland Hotel with Trader Sam's and then the pool bar for the Villas.
Palm Breeze, yeah.
Palm Breeze, thank you.
Palm Breeze is also, I was surprised how good it was. I think, and again, nothing against anybody at Grand Cal, but I feel like the bartenders at the Disneyland Hotel maybe are just like a little bit of a step up, possibly because you have Trader Sam's there, so it's just like a big emphasis of what's going on. The bummer about Disneyland Hotel though is it's at the end of downtown Disney. So while it's not far by any means, again, you leave the hotel, you walk the length of downtown Disney, you're at the parks, probably 10 to 12 minutes. It's not terrible. It is though, like quite literally twice as far as the Grand Californian. So I think especially going from Grand Cal to Disneyland Hotel, I found that pretty noticeable. That being said, we had 3 kids. They were 2, 4, and 7.
Not fast.
They were not fast, but I'm saying like the length of time wasn't ever an issue.
Yeah. And
they only had 1 stroller, like the 4-year-old walked the whole time. There were complaints, but not about the length of the walk. I think they were plenty entertained by what was going on at downtown Disney, and it was still definitely fast enough. And we were moving the whole time, right? They didn't feel like they were just like standing in line doing nothing. So the distance isn't like a problem, but I would say it definitely is further than the Grand Cal, and it's noticeable.
And I will call out, there's the monorail, obviously. However, we only took that once on our way like back from the parks. It's just not that reliable of a method of transportation for kind of the group that we were working with.
Well, and like, it's only going to take you into Disneyland Park, so it doesn't work for if you're going to DCA.
Right.
And you have to go, and then you don't necessarily know how long you're going to be waiting until it shows up. It's not like it's not real transit, right? It's not like it runs every 6 or 8 minutes.
Correct. Yeah.
And it's not very big, so depending on how big the crowd is there, I'm like, well, are we even going to get on the next one? So it is an option. That's so fair. But that's like a patient pants option versus I could just keep walking and like probably beat the monorail is my guess.
Yeah. I would also add that just as like a resort stay, I found the Disneyland Hotel area is just a little, because it's a little more removed, it's definitely like a more relaxing vibe than being in the middle of everything.
There were a lot of people coming in and out of Grand Cal, like in that lobby area, presumably to go to dining or just to come check it out. And I understand because it's right there. That did not really happen. It didn't feel like it happened at the Disneyland Hotel. I will also say it maybe benefits from the fact that Disneyland Hotel is a bunch of separate towers. So the main area, I guess like check-in is not somewhere like we would be hanging out. Like we're hanging out in our building or we're hanging out at the pool or the outdoor bar or whatever. And that area never felt like it just had, day guests basically coming in and visiting.
Yeah. There were some convention folks, I think, at both hotels, but it really wasn't that noticeable, all things considered.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little hard to say. I think there was like a dance competition happening at Disneyland Hotel over the weekend, but we checked in on Sunday. So we kind of caught the tail end of them. And then I think most of them left because I feel like I didn't see hardly any of them anymore. So if you're there over a weekend, it might feel a little more crowded. But again, the convention part is like off of the main building.
Right, it's in its own building.
Yeah, so if you're staying in one of the other buildings, like you're probably not gonna notice a ton, which I think is nice. It feels more insulated. Another downside though about Disneyland Hotel is that it doesn't really have its own private security. So when you leave the Disneyland Hotel, you go through security to get into downtown Disney. And I will say that there's like multiple lanes and bays basically. And so depending on what time you're going, you're probably not going to hit most of the day guests using that security. But it's not like the Grand Cal. It's not private. It's not super fast. It was fine. It wasn't a problem, but it just didn't feel as, I don't know, deluxe.
Yeah. So what do you think your ranking would be?
I think it's so hard because the Grand Cal location is superior. The Grand Cal private security is superior. Grand Cal has a private entrance into DCA, which Disneyland Hotel, there's three on-property hotels. 2 of them have a private entrance. The one that doesn't is Disneyland Hotel, which like really grinds my gears. So from a perspective of the thing that I normally prioritize is like my time, and like my time to get to the parks, my time to get to the thing I want to do. I think Grand Cal wins out, like always. That being said, I really prefer the theming, the vibe, the drinks at the Disneyland Hotel. So I don't know. I mean, if money weren't a question, I would probably always book the Grand Cal.
Okay, cool. I think for me, and I think you probably agree, that the best value for money is going to be the off-site Home2 Suites.
Oh, obviously, yeah.
100%.
Stay off-site, like, okay, here's the thing. What do you get for staying on-site? You get the private entrance if you're at Pixar Place or the Grand Cal, and then you get early entry into the parks, which I think is a half hour early on one of the parks. It's not either.
Yeah, you don't get both.
And whatever, this is subject to change, so who knows how they'll do it. But while we were there, it was like, I think a half hour. Was it an hour? No, it was only a half hour. Because it was like, we could go in at 7:30, park opened at 8.
Right.
Yeah, so you get a half hour, which is like 1 to 2 rides, depending on how lucky you are. And that's it. So the on-site perks are minimal, I would say. So yeah, if you're looking to save money, just stay off-site, 100%. There's plenty of great hotels that are very close by, are comfortable, depending on your travel party configuration. Maybe that hotel, just like room size, kitchen, all that stuff makes more sense for you. So yeah, value, all of the Disney resorts lose.
Yeah. But I would agree that for me, the Grand Cal just edges Disneyland Hotel for me. Just barely. For a lot of the reasons that you listed, but then I think also like if it wasn't going through renovation, I think it would have been really like even better.
Yeah, definitely.
And what it was like, there was sometimes annoying drilling going on during the middle of the work week while we were there. There
was some atmospheric stuff that, they were finishing up renos, and so it wasn't like the world's most perfect stay.
Right. But I think all things considered, it's definitely, Wall of Sport is really cool. And then the Disneyland Hotel is great. Love the pool bar atmosphere, the laid back atmosphere. But it's just the amount of time that it takes to get places, a little removed. You don't have quite as many dining options. So it's, I think, just a hair above the Disneyland Hotel for me.
Grand Cal.
Yes.
So did we both just pick the Grand Cal?
I think so. But I think that could be subject to change. And maybe if we had just the two of us staying there, it could have been a little bit different. Who knows? We'll find out next time.
I think that we have similar priorities
Yes.
in what we look for, and like distance, time, all that. Like convenience is a big one, and like Grand Cal is always going to win in those factors. So again, we do own Disney Vacation Club at the Disneyland Hotel. So I assume all of the next times we will book at Disneyland Hotel, and we'll probably go on the wait list for the Grand Cal. Money being a factor though, I will say, at least for Disney Vacation Club, I think almost always at least, Grand Cal does cost more points than Disneyland Hotel. This, to my knowledge, typically also refers to price then. So typically speaking, I think the rack rates for the Grand Cal will be more than the rack rates for the Disneyland Hotel. That being said, they're both very expensive. And then for DVC folks, if you are gonna stay on points, when you use points at the Disneyland Hotel, you do owe them taxes. So we did owe them like $500 or something upon checkout for our 3-night stay in the 2-bed, versus at the Grand Cal, you pay more points, but you don't owe them taxes. So I don't know, figure out what matters to you. But yeah, I think we'll book Disneyland Hotel to make sure that we can go and have a great stay. We'll go on the Grand Californian waitlist and cross our fingers. If you have questions about our stay, leave those in the comments down below. I'll do my best to get back to you with a useful answer. There should also be room tours on the channel already. I'll leave some links in the description below if you want to check those out. Thank you again to everyone who has liked the video, subscribed to the channel, and extra gratitude to all of my monthly Ko-fi supporters. I really appreciate it. May the rest of your day be magical, and we'll see you real soon at Pixie Dust PhD.
Bye.